Just last night, I was actually talking to my friend Chris about kind of this figure and this toy line and kind of the 90s in general. I bought this recently, and right now it's April 2019, so probably not 2019. I don't think it was the end of the year last year. Anyway, so this is, 15-ish years old. And the fact that, or the reason why I can buy this in 2019 for, I think I paid like $3. I know I paid no more than $5. And the reason why you find any Toy Biz, X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Hulk, for really cheap. I mean, some of them are a little bit more, but for the most part, they're $5 figures. Is because, number one, they made a bajillion of them. I mean, here's a few. That's not obviously a ton. But also, this was the speculator boom in the 90s when people thought they were going to get rich and retire or send their kids to college because they bought comic books. And as a bit of a comic book historian, and that's true, actually, I wrote my master's thesis about the history of comic books. Part of this stemmed from the 1989 Batman film, which kind of led to an increase in the value of Detective Comics number 27, which also kind of coincided with an increase in the value. And I'm going to open this while I talk, so you're not just like staring at a card listening to me babble. Which also led to an increase in value in Action Comics number 1, obviously the first appearance of Superman. We got a little card here, long shot. It's kind of a cool card, a little painting by Bo Hampton. I'm not really sure who that is. So I remember when Action Comics number 1 hit $100,000. Yeah, I think it was 100, maybe it's 200,000. I don't know, whatever. But I remember when it hit like basically as much as like a house. Now obviously it depends on where you live, but I live kind of in the Midwest, so $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, you get a decent house. So, and that was kind of it. And people just thought they were going to get rich off of those. Off of baseball cards. Ooh, look at that tape. That tape is old and funky. And it's actually peeling some of the paint off. That's kind of weird. So what's interesting, and I'm going to stop my story for a second just because we're peeling tape off of this Archangel figure from Toy Biz X-Men 1994. I want to say 94, 93. But I don't know, if you were to consider this previously, till I opened it just a few seconds ago, mint and package, technically, I would consider that incorrect because this tape makes it not mint, and so, I don't know, anywho. But there's some, like, wing flapping action that still works pretty good. These shoot, shoot in the sense that, you gotta kind of flick them, but that tape makes them sticky. I guarantee you that if I saw this laying around somewhere, I would have no clue. I would never ID this as Toy Biz X-Men Archangel. Archangel, sorry. Archangel, sorry. I'll get it right. Let's talk about this figure for a minute. Ooh, plastic crack, love it. Ooh, that was a good one. So Angel, I almost said Angle. Angel was an original member of the X-Men, 1963, created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. And then it was an Avengers Annual 12, something like that, is when Apocalypse turned him into the Archangel. And that's kind of why he's got this like funky paint scheme. But I think this is pretty cool. I mean, this is very 90s. This sort of pink and more of his face as much, that sort of teal than the blue. For some reason in the 90s, like, I mean, probably around here, 93, that pink and teal were really big. And I remember actually, like, literally, this is no joke, getting, like, Crayola, I guess they're markers, and it just had pink and teal. Like, that was it. It just had those two, and it's really weird. But it was cool, and I remember, like, coloring. Like, these were, like, the cool colors of the time. I would walk home from school every day, and there was this car parked in this business parking lot by my house. It was a Chevy Beretta. If you remember, they're kind of like a two-door, like, it was like 93. And it was like teal, and it had a pink sort of race, I guess not a pinstripe, more likely. I remember Geo Trackers, which were kind of big around then too. Also kind of did that same thing with sort of like the teal and the pink. So for younger viewers, you might not remember, or you might not have been alive when the teal and pink were really big. So this was like hot. Like this was like a cool color scheme here. The blue is different, but I like it. I mean, some of it's nostalgia. And I just think it looks kind of cool. It looks very Tron. Anyway, and I think this is a cool figure. I mean, it's simple, it's straightforward. You know, his wings flap. The missiles are a little clunky, a little weird. But overall, I think it's cool, and I like it. It fits in well with the X-Men Toy Biz line. Anyway, let me just finish my story up really quick. So, anyway, there was this boom, and people thought they were going to retire collecting comic books. And I remember reading stories from guys who were retailers back then that said people would come in, and they would just grab stacks of comics off of the shelf. I mean, just every issue, they would just grab like 5 of them, and they would put them in the back of this like kind of I guess a work truck kind of van sort of thing, and they just kind of stored them. But you know, if you know anything about sort of supply and demand, the reason why Action Comics #1 is so expensive is because there's few of them and it's in high demand. So you know, the 1991 X-Men series issue 12 isn't really in demand, and they made a cajillion of them. So so why was I talking about this, and why am I talking about this to you right now? Well, the reason is because that kind of happened, you know, crossed over into the toy industry as well. So, you know, people thought comics were hot, they thought the toys were hot, so they were buying tons and tons and tons of, you know, these X-Men toys, specifically, I think, X-Men, and, you know, keeping them on the card, thinking they're going to be worth all this money one day. And that's why in 2019 you can find these for $3, $4, $5. So, so a little bit of history, you know, crossed over, and baseball cards were kind of the same thing. You know, I'm sure there were other things that people sort of speculated would be valuable. But what's interesting is some things that are really valuable that we just tossed away back then was clothing. I semi-collect vintage, like athletic clothing, and I do sell it. But I had a Nirvana, the heart-shaped box all over print T-shirt. I had it in middle school. Probably, you know, kind of got out of Nirvana a little bit, or maybe got a hole in it, whatever, threw it away. Literally, I saw one sell on eBay for no joke $1,000. You know, some of the sneakers I had the white, green, and black Sean Kemp's. You know, they'd be pretty beat up now, but those are worth some money. What else have I seen? You know, I sell starter jackets, chalk line jackets. You know, that stuff, and you know, some of it might be worth $5 or $10, and then some might be worth $1,000, some might be worth $100. You know, I just sold a Space Ghost T-shirt from 1997. I got a Goodwill for a couple bucks for like $60, and that was actually a good deal. They sell for like $90 to $100. So it's just kind of funny, you know, people have like literally boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of comics and card toys and baseball cards that are worth nothing, but some of the stuff that is worth a lot, we just threw away. So, so I think to kind of encapsulate this and to kind of leave you with a message, you know, I like to say, you know, end with, you know, open your toys and play with them, but I think, you know, kind of a bigger picture thing is just, you know, enjoy, whatever it is you do. I mean, whether it's collecting toys or comics or baseball cards or shoes or, I had a professor in grad school who collected antique fishing lures. You know, I think if you want to invest, you know, do some like traditional investing in, you know, 401ks and IRAs and things like that. Don't bank on a thing that might be worth a ton of money someday, because history shows will get hosed. And one thing I learned, I used to work at Fidelity Investments in college, is that there's never been a 10-year period since the Great Depression, in which the market hasn't had a return. So, so don't invest in toys and comics and goofy stuff like that. You know, have fun with it, open it. I mean, these are all things that I've opened for Vintage Toy Freedom. I have some Z-Bots and Dungeons and Dragons and a Terrordrome and Transformers, and obviously G.I. Joe and glow-in-the-dark things, and there's some Lane of the Lost and Waterworld and Shadow and Ghost Rider and just all kinds of random things, Yoda and a Smurf. So, you know, enjoy life, enjoy your stuff, you know, and open your toys and play with them, because you might, you know, discover you got a really cool Archangel figure who flaps his wings and shoots missiles, and comes with a little trading card, and you can add it to your collection, and again, just kind of enjoy it. So thanks for watching. Open your toys, play with them.